Hi everyone, I'm Bernice and welcome to my second Oboe chat. For those of you who are new to my channel, I've been working on the Gillet Oboe Etudes over the past few months, actually ever since the start of the lockdown here in the UK where I'm currently based. In my previous and very first Oboe chat, I talked about 5 ways in which I go about learning a Gillet Etude. If you're interested to view that video, I've included the link down in the description box below. In today's video, I will be sharing 3 of my practice methods which I use for every Gillet Etude. I'm sure that some or even all 3 of these methods are nothing new to you, but I thought I'd share them just in case they happen to be something that you might not already know. So let's get right to it. My very first go-to technique whenever I encounter a difficult passage is to practice it using as many different rhythms as I can possibly think of. Sometimes my fingers feel so stubborn, as if it's like they have a mind of their own when I'm trying so hard to control them. This is when this technique comes in really handy. Let me just demonstrate how I would normally practice using this method using the first bar of Gillet's Etude number 16, which is what I'm currently working on to upload onto my channel some point later this week. I've been using this practice method for many years now, actually ever since I entered music conservatory, but it has started working well for me only as recently as in the last 2 years or so. The reason for this is because in the earlier years when I was practicing using this technique, I used to use only about 4 different rhythms, which was not enough to help me solve my technical problems or untangle my fingers, so to speak. Now my magic number is 9. I use 9 different rhythms whenever I encounter a difficult passage. I would say that 7 or more rhythms is great. You can use as many different rhythms, and I don't think it matters what kind of rhythms you use as long as they differ from one another. My second point is to identify patterns in the music. Because Gillet Etudes are so difficult, they can take quite some time to learn and to master. One time-saving method that I've discovered is to identify patterns in the music. This method not only saves time in the practice room, but it also gives my brain some breathing space, in the sense that once I have identified a pattern, my brain does not have to work quite so hard to keep preempting every next note all throughout the study. Take the same Etude number 16 as an example. I can see that there are 3 different patterns just in the 4th and the 5th lines alone. The first pattern is in these 2 bars, whereby they both have exactly the same rhythm, but the second bar is just 1 note up from the first bar. It's like a sequence. The second rhythm is in the following bar, where there are descending thirds with an accent on the first note of each third. And finally, the last pattern is again in the following bar, where each descending note returns to the same note F sharp. It's quite straightforward really. Scales and arpeggios are also patterns. So once I have identified a pattern in the music, I either use a pencil to bracket it or I highlight it, so that when I get to those specific bars in the etude, because I have already understood them in my mind as patterns and also what kind of patterns they are, I don't really have to think so hard about what note comes next, because my fingers kind of automatically already know. Etudes are generally all based on patterns, so they are literally everywhere. This is one very efficient method of practicing that has worked really well for me, because I always try to solve the problems that I face in the quickest way possible. My third and final point of this video is to practice at fluctuating speeds using a metronome. One characteristic feature of most, if not all, Gillet etudes is the insanely fast tempo that's indicated at the beginning of each etude. I've realized that to play Gillet well, a quick mind and agile fingers are both needed. I almost always find myself really struggling to meet the indicated tempo. So I've discovered a way to kind of get around this problem or to help myself with it, and that is to practice the etude at fluctuating speeds using a metronome. I've discovered that to practice it at fluctuating speeds, meaning faster, slower, faster, slower, faster, slower, is actually overall more effective than to keep only increasing the tempo. Let's just take the same etude, number 16, again as an example. It's marked crotchet beat equals to 132. Maybe some of you find this easy, but I certainly don't. So let me just demonstrate how I would normally go about practicing using this method. So what I've done basically is to fluctuate the tempo by going from a faster beat to a slower beat to a faster beat to a slower beat and so on and so forth, but increasing the tempo overall. I hope this makes sense and that I'm not being confusing. Sometimes when I want to take things a step further and not sound frantic when I'm playing the Gillet etude, I practice it at an even faster tempo than what is indicated, so that when it comes back to the written tempo, it actually feels easier and therefore it doesn't sound so frantic. But of course, because this number 16 is at 132, it's insanely quick and I'm not even going to try to attempt that. In conclusion, I'd like to end off by saying that I truly have no magic tricks when it comes to Gillet. If there's one sure thing that has helped me through each and every etude, it is consistent and deliberate practice. I try my very best to practice a little bit every day, even on days when I'm feeling tired or unmotivated or low in general, but it doesn't always happen. And when it does, I can't say that I've always been focused and on the ball during my practice. Sometimes I would do 45 minutes of practice and then realize that for the past 45 minutes, I've been just playing the same few bars over and over again mindlessly without really thinking about what I should improve on, how I sound like, etc., etc. So of course, when that happens, I try my best not to repeat it again, but it's easier said than done. But because Gillet is so advanced and so challenging, it definitely requires dedication and consistency. So that's all I have to share for this video. If it's been helpful for you in some way, please subscribe to my channel because there is more Gillet content coming your way in the next few weeks. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.